I really believe it's about helping people see a different perspective, maybe walk a mile in somebody else's shoes and just give a sense of what it's really like to be that way. And then make choices about how do you want to walk yourself now. Take off those stilettos and put on your own shoes and
With these
see how
knees,
see how you
sweetie.
work now.
No way.
Oh, you could stomp it out just one time, Gio. Come on.
No, and then I would need crutches. Like it would not be
Oh
cute.
gosh.
I
Okay, we got to take care of you.
Yeah, I think I need more collagen in my system. Welcome to another episode of Graphic Content, the podcast where we talk all things who, why, and what the fuck. Today's guest is on a mission to shock us out of our static daily routines. He is an international speaker, an author, MC, leadership thought leader, Topaz Award winner. I'm still going. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, and for the last almost decade, he's been the host of the Art of series, Bill G. Williams.
Oh, Gio, thank you, man. So excited to be here with you.
That
Incredible.
intro. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
know it's a little long, right? Somebody needs to edit that. Somebody needs to trim that down.
No, I wrote it. I pulled
Oh,
it from so many different places because I mean, obviously your tagline is from you, but
yeah,
there
yeah.
was I was going through all of your, I know you, so I could write it easily, but I'm going through everything. I'm like, there is a lot of shit to put on this list. You've been doing so much.
Well, and you branded me, man. So it's like, hello, yeah. I appreciate that you were able to find those things because that becomes our normal life, right? Like that's just what I do every
Yeah.
day, and I don't think anything of it. But when somebody else picks it up, it's like, oh, shoulders back, chest up. Yeah, I can smile a bit more now.
But I relate. I gravitate towards energy like that because to me,
Mhm.
I'm very much not that. Listen, like I don't have much skin in the game in like the grand scheme of life, but I feel like when it comes to people who are like, yeah, I've done it, but it doesn't define me, and that's something that I feel like we like can relate on.
Exactly, because if nothing else, we have friends like you and I for each other that just help us stay grounded and like, girl, you're not all that. Like, just
Yeah, yeah.
you're a human being, right? Like, first and
Hmm.
foremost, that's all we are as human beings. And I believe, like, if you ever get an email from me, the signature line that I have is Maya Angelou, do the very best you can until you know better. And
Hmm.
when you know better, do better. So I'm just doing the best I can every single day. And that's my norm. So here we are. What do you want to talk about?
What has been for you the thing that has grounded you through this all? Because you've been around the world, you've traveled, you've done so many keynotes, talked to so many people. Like I think on your website you have like interacted with 75,000 people over your
Yeah.
career. That's wild. Like how do you
Yeah.
stay grounded in that all that? I would
Yeah.
I'd find it overwhelming.
Well, and it is though, Gio, but you know what grounds me without question is my mother and father, Alice Margaret Foster Williams, Colin Harold Williams are up there looking down on me. And I open so many of my talks with the question about my name. And
Hmm.
it's like I'm Bill Williams. I'm Bill G. Williams to be a little bit distinctive when you look me up on LinkedIn or social, the G. There's so many Bill Williams out there in the world. But my mother wanted to call me Billy. And her friend said, you can't call him Billy. He's going to be a 62-year-old man, bald like his dad. And in 2025, it won't be appropriate to call an old, privileged gay white man Billy.
Hmm.
And so that's not what they put on the birth certificate. They put William. So I'm actually William Grant Williams, as you know, because you created the slides for my presentations and keynotes.
Hmm.
But the other part of my name is where I was born. And it's now called Thunder Bay, Ontario, right on the Lakehead area, Lake Superior. The Sleeping Giant is there. This is where Terry Fox sadly ended his marathon of hope. But when I was born there, it was Port Arthur and Fort William. So I'm William Grant Williams from Fort William, Ontario, the murder capital of the world. Um,
What?
but that really, yeah, I know Thunder Bay is known as the murder capital of the world. Check it out. There are documentaries about it, sadly, and mostly often about our Indigenous people. But
Mm.
but the point is that I'm just a small town kid. From there, I really had the opportunity to grow up in British Columbia, Kamloops, British Columbia. But my first major job was in this little pioneering. Can you imagine this guy pioneering a coal mining town in northeastern British Columbia called Tumbler Ridge? There were, I think, 3,500 people were there when I first moved there. And basically, Geo, if you hadn't heard a rumor by 10 a.m., start one. We didn't have social media, but everybody know who was sleeping with who and who was out when and where
Yeah.
and what was happening, and who couldn't drive home because they were too tanked to drive home. So at
Hmm.
any rate, we really got to know each other. And when you have those kinds of people in your life, it really can keep you grounded. Yeah, it'd
Yeah.
be easy to fly off and think I'm all that in a bag of chips, but no, no, no. I'm Billy Williams. That's it. That's all that keeps me grounded.
I vibe with that so much because I
Mm,
can't deal with people who buy their own press. Like to me, that is something that I just like. I'm like, who cares? Like you're a human. Sure, you've done all the shit, but which is great.
mhm.
As a let the
Yep.
third parties admire it. But question though, like going back
Mhm.
to the humble beginnings, like how are you managing that as a gay person? Like I
Oh,
feel like that would be like I went through that as like a small town, but like I could not imagine even smaller.
Oh, Gio, it's amazing. My family, we just were constantly keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm,
My mother, I didn't know when I was a kid. I stepped in on two attempted suicides. My mother was diagnosed with depression. But
mhm,
then as we grew up, and then this is all before the age of 11, as we grew up, I found out this is a whole other story, but she was actually diagnosed with being bipolar.
mm,
And so that's what we refer to it as today. But as a kid, because of my mother's depression, my father was a bit of a workaholic. He was an electrician by trade. So, hence, Electric Bill is the son of an electrician, kind of works with the branding you created for me. Dad would work 4 to 12, 12 to 8, and 8 to 4, those three shifts. And so often we had to be quiet as kids because dad was sleeping or
right.
dad was out at work, and just wait till your father gets home. You're in so much trouble. But really, we were the perfect family. My mother would sew us matching shirts. Oh my gosh, how tacky is that? But back in the 60s,
That's
that
kind
was
of
kind of the
cute
families
though.
dressed all the same.
Yeah,
She would knit us sweaters, and when my sister and I would grow out of the sweater, she would unravel them and then make me another sweater as well. So
that is
those
work.
grounding beginnings, yeah, are just really humble. And quite frankly, if I was struggling with anything right now more than anything else, it is imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Like, who am I to sit on a stage and interview these people or introduce these people or work with these people in any way, shape, or form? So maybe that bit of challenge of being, struggling with imposter syndrome just really keeps me grounded.
For you to say that is, and listen, I know imposter syndrome has been very much in the zeitgeist, like that conversation around like
Yep. Hmm.
people just it being a common thing.
Hmm.
But to hear somebody who has as many accolades as you, I'm like, is
Oh,
there no chance for the rest of us?
oh, sure there is. Sure there is. But I mean, the other thing, Gio, is again, this little gay boy. Again, I don't know when we knew that we were gay or when I knew that I was gay,
Hmm.
but as a little kid, I was accident prone. And so, what did my folks do for me? They put me in tap, jazz, ballet, and baton lessons with David Manns down at the Red Rock Recreation Center. I didn't have jazz hands, but I
I
certainly
love it.
danced in the recitals. I wanted to play hockey so bad. Bobby Orr was my hero back then,
Really?
and in order to play hockey, before I could play hockey, guess what? I took figure skating lessons. And so here's this little gay boy that didn't even know he was gay that was doing all this stuff, playing the piano. And so the musical thing that was there, I was in the little local plays at the school and conducted the choir in school and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, my little gayness was there. And really, this is probably a sad moment for me, actually, Gio, is that I didn't find out until well after my mother had been dead for probably 20 years that she knew I was gay all along. I never came out to my mom.
Oh shoot. Do you mind if I ask like how you found out?
I find out I was married to my high school sweetheart for 7 years.
That's not what I meant. I meant how you found out that she knew.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that story. That's very different. Okay,
Uh-huh.
never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Back to that other story then. So my dad actually came down to stay with myself and my
Mm,
partner then. Victor, who had a place in New York and a place in Provincetown. My dad came to both New York City and Provincetown with me. And I just bluntly asked him, I said, Dad, so what happened? And he said, well, your mother and I had one of our classic fights. And at the end of it, I said, that's it. I'm packing my bags. I'm moving to Toronto. I'm going to move in with Billy. And my mom said to him, well, you might not appreciate his lifestyle. And my dad said, what?
mm,
And my mom told my dad I was gay. And my dad actually outed me to me. He was the one that told me he knew because I had been influenced by others to not come out. Actually,
mhm.
somebody that I had, an elder in my life that I had a lot of respect for, and they said, "Don't ever come out; it'll kill your mother, and your dad will never talk to you again." So that fear threw me right back into the closet, and I was leading, dual lives, if you will. I was living my straight life with my family of origin, and my gay life with my family of choice.
What are your thoughts on the new generation where like everybody's just out at like the age of 10?
Well, I don't know about out at the age of 10, but I got to tell you what I absolutely admire is I absolutely admire when I can see somebody who goes by the he, him pronouns, but at the same point in time is wearing heels or might, put on a skirt or is got some like flamboyant dress and stuff. Because back in my day, if
Yeah.
I can say that at 62 here now, you just didn't do that. You were going to get the crap kicked out of you. Like
Hmm.
that's what's going to happen in, small town Northern Ontario, Northwestern Ontario, other places, and even in Toronto. Back when I first moved back to Toronto in 1990, there were still gay bashings that were happening on the streets. You didn't want to stand out so much. We needed the church Wellesley Village at that point in time. And if it was hockey night in Canada and we were the stepsisters sitting outside the Second Cup on Church Street having a coffee after the bars closed at 2 o'clock. There was no
Yeah.
grinder, there was no scruff. This was our last chance to get lucky that night.
Yeah.
And so we'd be there. But if it was a hockey night, you knew there were going to be eggs thrown at you. So to have the pride to see these people that are so confident in themselves, that can just be who they are, where they are, and be damned everybody else, loving it. Absolutely loving it. We got to keep up the fight.
Yeah.
What's happening south of the border for us right now? So
Mhm.
again, we're coming to you all from Canada, and the United States is just south of the border. T is no longer in our acronym. It's LGB. And even that, they're saying we only have two genders in the United States of America. Are you kidding me? Like, no,
Mhm.
no, no. So we can't stop. I don't think it's really any easier for anyone, because we all have our own tolerance. We all have our own ability to recover. And every one of us, like I have such thrill that I see these news reports of children in school right now that are talking about hope and helping and being kind and learning those things. Because yeah, you and I experienced the kids that weren't so kind, and I think that if we can make that a part of our curriculum, that's what gives me hope for the future. But I still get choked up. I mean, the generation above me is pretty much gone because of HIV/AIDS.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting. Well, there's still some elders in the community, but now with PrEP and doxy prep, there's so many ways that we can take care of ourselves. And that's just the men's side of our community. We need to look at our whole community.
In a
Yeah.
previous episode, so I spoke with a friend of mine, Akila, and she's a black trans woman who lives in the States. We're GT. We want to talk about the alphabet
Yep.
soup.
Yep.
And our whole conversation was basically around like, we know that we're different. Like, I'm white,
Yeah.
she's black, I'm gay, she's trans. Like, but at the end of the day, we don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
We are human. We have to
Mm-hmm.
all get together. And to me, the only hope that I'm going to feel like in a real way is if these different communities within the umbrella of queer actually stop fighting with each other. Like, that's, we were like, we need to stop that shit, because if we start
Yeah.
picking at each other over our differences, we're defeating the purpose. Like, what are we doing here,
But dude, look back at the history again. I used to
Yeah.
love going to Montreal Pride because their Pride was called diversity. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, diversity, but you're all together. And Toronto's Pride, do you remember what it was called? When you were probably too young for this, but Toronto's Pride was called Unity. But in our Unity Pride, we had the march on Friday,
Hmm.
and then we had the gay parade on Sunday, and I think there might have been something else in there somewhere too. But this unity of all of us coming together was actually all of us being in these
Yes.
silos. And so yeah, if we can't get our community together and we want to be accepted as who we are, we got to start accepting each other. And that's not easy. It's really a challenge for many people. And I think it's all driven by fear, which, to not get all neurosciencey on you and everything like that, but fear is really activates our amygdala, which is the original part of our brain, which causes us to fight, flight, or freeze. There's another one that's in there now, fawn as well. And when we freeze, that means that our amygdala has been hijacked and we are not able to use the executive functions of our brain. That's one of the beauties I find. If there's something that differentiates the queer community from everybody else, we're fucking smart people.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at us, like, most of us are really quite intelligent people as well. I don't know how or why, but we just applied ourselves and we studied maybe harder than other kids did. Regardless, the point is that we've got to stop being afraid of each other. We got to
Hmm.
come together, just
Yeah.
like back in the beginnings of Pride, and really try to make a difference with the rest of the world.
I think that there has to something to do with having duality, right? Where there's like that male and
Mm,
male feminine energy. Like I think that it's when you can tap into both sides of that. Like
mhm.
anyone who knows me, like I'm not the most butch person. Like like I just
But
as I talk with my hands, but you know
yep.
what I mean. Like it's just not. And so for me, I feel like when you can tap into both sides,
Mm,
both
mhm,
energies, whatever if you look at it from maybe an esoteric standpoint, I
mhm.
feel like that is maybe potentially why that is like what you're saying is true.
Yeah. Well, and I love that because you're reminding me as you share that. I worked with nuclear scientists. Back then it was called AECL, Atomic Energy of Canada Limited. Grateful for them because what they were creating more so than anything else was actually treatments for cancer. That they came up with the radiation that was an offshoot of that. But the point is that these scientists that I was working with, Geo, they were so intimidating. I'm like, holy crap, you guys are
Yeah.
so smart. But you know what the majority of them did in their free time? They created symphony orchestras. So these scientists that were so focused on science were also focused on the arts. And so they did have that balance and that blend. And then I love if we look at our indigenous people, we're talking about the two spirited, which
Yes.
is what you talked about, the masculine and the feminine.
Hmm.
And we can embody that. And even our, our lesbian sisters, oftentimes come across as masculine, but they are women as well. And
Yeah.
so it's an interesting opportunity of what we can actually do together. And if we can solve some stuff together, hopefully we can make a difference in the world some way.
On that note, so with
Mhm.
making a difference in the world, your whole platform is around helping people facilitate that in their own lives. How did you even get into that to begin with? Because talking originally about your where you come from and your personal story with your family, was that in any way part of how you got to where you are today? Because like I want you to talk a little bit about like what it is that you do and your whole platform.
Okay, so you're blowing my mind because you were the first podcast. I've been on so many podcasts, and you're the first podcast that I haven't seen or known the questions in any way, shape, or form. And I love this totally raw, totally naked, like you're just getting full on electric bill here right now. And so as a little kid, I still wanted to have a connection to my dad. And my dad was this electrician by trade, and he loved to tinker and tamper with things. And he would go and work on the engine of the car, change the oil, if you will, like how Butch is that. And I'm just like, oh, that's so Butch. I want to be Butch too. And so I would swaddle right on up there and I would ask questions. And he'd like, why do you have to ask so damn many questions? Go talk to your mother. So off I'd get sent. But for me, it's really just been a curiosity. My whole life, I've been
Mhm.
a lifelong learner. I'm constantly, it's a form of therapy for me. But I even to this point, I have a guide, I have a coach. If I'm going to be a coach, I think that I need to have a coach myself. I've worked with therapists for years and years and years, life coaches as well. And so it's really just being so curious and asking so many questions, which is more about, one of my mantras today, Geo, is I'm not here for you and I to agree. There's probably many things
No.
that you and I disagree on, but what I do want to go for is understanding. So I will just keep asking you questions until I understand what you think, what you feel, what makes you think or feel that way, what makes you behave in the way that you do. And if there was one thing that I would love to do, as much as my dad was an organized union representative his entire career, and I have some respect for that, I think that unionization is only necessary because there's a lack of good leadership. And if we had really good ethical leadership, treated our people fairly, paid them fairly, both genders, because again, there's still such a huge disparity between men and women in their compensation, that there's incredible stuff that we can do. But for me, it's just simply about asking questions, help people see things in a certain way, their way, and then sharing another perspective with them. And oftentimes, Gio, when I'm coaching somebody, it's not even my perspective; it's just a different perspective, because I have one of my steps is micro steps is to choose your balloon. And so it's a long story. I won't tell the story, but it's a point of, if you have a perfect balloon that's your favorite color, mine being red, and you look at that perfect pristine balloon and you blow it up, and then for some reason the air comes out of it, it never goes back to its original shape.
Hmm.
And I believe our minds are like that as well. That if I can stretch your mind with a new idea, a new perspective, it'll never go back to its original shape. You may go back to doing what you were doing, but you've now been impacted in some way, shape, or form. So for my leadership development work that I do, the executive coaching work, the keynotes that I'm delivering, I really believe it's about helping people see a different perspective. Maybe walk a mile in somebody else's shoes and just give a sense of what it's really like to be that way. and then make choices about how do you want to walk yourself now. Take off those stilettos and put on your own shoes, and
With these
see how
knees,
you
sweetie.
walk now.
No way.
Oh, you could stomp it out just one time, Gio. Come on.
No, and then I would need a crutches. Like it would not be
Oh
cute.
gosh.
I
Okay, we got to take care of you.
Yeah, I think I need more collagen in my system. But no, on a serious note, I back up everything that you say because I truly believe that
Mm,
it's, the expansion of the mind is very important. And a lot of
mm,
people, they don't necessarily put themselves in positions or in situations where they allow themselves to open up their minds and to think
mm.
differently, because that's what we're seeing
Yeah.
obviously in society, where people are like, they're so stuck in their reality. With all of the talk of the keynotes that you do, with the book that you've written, what is the most feedback you get from people? Like, what are, like, when it comes to what you talk about, like, what do you hear the most? Because I never really asked you that.
What I hear the most is about my energy.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, oh my God, you always have so much energy. And that's why I wrote the book. Somebody in Montreal actually challenged me this, like every time I meet you, whether it's, 6:30 in the morning or whether it's 7 o'clock in the evening after a full day of facilitation, or maybe you facilitated a not-for-profit thing and it went until 10 o'clock at night, you always have the same amount of energy. And I do. So that's the number one thing that they comment on. The number two thing, I think one of my proudest moments as a facilitator was after delivering a program. I think it was a 3-day program. And the person came up to me on day 3 and they said, Bill, what am I going to do? And I'm like, not sure. What's the problem? They're like, I've just learned that everything I've been doing is wrong. And what am I going to say to my people? I'm like, well, first of all, the fact that you even came to me to ask the question tells me you probably weren't doing everything wrong. You just
Yeah.
maybe weren't doing it the best way that you would like to do it. So I would just simply go to your people now and tell them exactly that, I've come out of this course. I've realized that I may not have been the best leader to this point in time. Back to my Maya Angelou quote, do the very best you can until you know better. And when
Hmm.
you know better, do better. So what I like hearing from people is just the difference that my life experiences was created for them. And that is what the book is about. It's, I'm, when I wrote the book, I was 59 years old. It came out on my birthday, and which meant that it was the beginning of my 60th tour around the sun. And I'm not ready to die yet, but well, maybe if
You
I was
got a
to die
long
tomorrow, I'd be
time.
okay with that. I got a long time. I got a lot of runway, but if I was to go tomorrow, I feel really good about the life that I've lived till now. There's a couple of destinations I'd like to get to, a couple of people I'd like to work with yet, but I'm okay with that. And so I wanted to make a difference for other people by just simply giving them another perspective that they could look at.
I like you saying the runway comment. I've got a lot more runway. No, genuinely, I've never heard that before. And
Yeah.
I like the visual of that, especially with the stilettos, like, come on.
I love that we have multiple runways. There's the runway, the catwalk that the models go out on, and then there's also the runway that the planes take off of to
Hmm.
soar, right? But either of those, whether it is a man or a woman, whether it is a model or not stomping down the runway or a plane taking off, we all have that opportunity to soar.
Hmm.
And that's what I want for people to do. Is I just want them to be able to charge themselves up and soar someplace amazing.
So where did
Yeah.
that come from? Like, why is that your whole platform is based on that? Where did that
It
intention come
comes
from?
from constantly having the intention to make things better.
Mm.
Now, some of that was being a little bit of a busybody, and my family had an acronym that my mom would say around the table, dinner table all the time, Billy MYOB. Don't know if that translates today or not, Gio, with your Italian nonna and mama, but it's mind your own business.
Yeah.
But I really had a hard time minding my own business, and I constantly wanted to make things better for other people. I remember being a young boy in Kamloops, British Columbia, where after Red Rock, born in Thunder Bay, lived in Red Rock, moved to Kamloops, British Columbia, and the Carter family lived around the corner from us. And I would go over and house clean. I'm like, what is a 12, 13-year-old boy doing house cleaning somebody else's place? I was just trying to make it better so we could all go out and play. Like once
Mm.
we get our chores done, we can go play. So let's just make it better. And I've just been hardwired, I guess, Gio, from the beginning of my life.
I can't imagine being a child trying to clean.
Well, again, when your mom's diagnosed as depressive, right?
Mm.
Mom, I would come home and Gio, it was really challenging to understand the difference between her wailing cry and her wailing laughter. But oftentimes I would come home and she'd be in a very depressive state. And so little Billy, if I can just make things perfect, Gio, maybe mommy won't cry. And if I make things
Fair.
perfect, maybe daddy will come home. And so whether it's doing the dishes, washing the floor, like, I mean, I was an adult way before I should have been an adult, or acting like an adult way before I should have been acting like an adult. But it was always about trying to make things better so the family
Mhm.
could come together. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
So, I mean, no, listen, hey, this is real shit, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't want, we don't need to shy away from it, but
No,
I,
Gio, this psychologist here. I'm in therapy again.
hey, if it's too much, you let me know.
Never, never. Bring it on. Raw and real.
No, I'm the same, honestly. Like, to me, I always think about, like the things that we go through as kids, and you're like, oh, it's fine. Like, even I said it earlier. I was like, oh, I'm fine, and I'm like, okay, well, if I really dig into it, maybe there are things I need to look into a little further to be able to
Mhm.
successfully move forward, or to more easily move forward in life energetically,
Right.
because these things
Mhm.
are weighing me down. For you, like, as you, as Bill, because you help
Mhm.
people to define success in their lives, to achieve, try to like strive for more success. What do you do for you that allows you to feel like, oh, I'm in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing?
Um, that's a good question. Well, I have a couple of uh, personal branding statements and or purpose statements in my life. In my business, it's pretty simple. I believe in brilliance, and I'm here to help you build your best. So whatever that is, I'm here to help you build that. In my personal life, I'm a grateful champion of health and balance in body, mind, and spirit. And I live with respect. And actually, it's funny because I have respect engraved. I was so proud when I bought this Tiffany dog tag, and I'm like, what am I getting engraved on it? I thought maybe I should get like an Asian symbol engraved on it. A friend said to me, like, "Are you Asian?" I'm like, "No, but I think Asian symbols are really cool." They're like, "How would you even know if you got the right one?" And I thought, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to get respect
Yeah.
engraved on this dog tag. And so the R is about my resources. So my camera today, my microphone today, my earplug today. E is everyone, but it's my family of origin. That's where I came from. S is my spirituality. I always want to leave more energy in the room than it had when I came into it. E is everyone, but now it's my family of choice. C is my career. I'm never work, but I'm always working. I left the corporate world to start my own company 20 years ago, and it was so I could work less and make more money. Um, and I think there'll always be somebody that I can support, whether it's through coaching or a keynote or a leadership development talk or the book, and then tease my thoughts, positive thoughts of myself and others at all times. So for me, it's really just knowing who I am and what am I about here, and then how can I make that difference. And so a couple of the things that you just mentioned in asking that question are about cross the river. And so that
Hmm.
micro step for
Which is in
me
your
is
book.
about, yeah, it's like, it's don't carry somebody else's burden. Like, that's not my responsibility to carry your burden, so let go of that stuff. How do I define success? Well, part of it's material, I gotta say. I certainly don't want to be living a life where I'm struggling,
Hmm.
or God forbid, ever living on the street. So I do appreciate the material wealth that I've been able to create, but for me, it's more about the quality of the relationships that I have.
Hmm.
And there are people that, Gio, I may not see them for a year. And what I look at is when we sit down together, and whether we're having a cup of tea, a glass of water, or a great martini, does it feel like we were together last week?
Hmm.
Or do we not feel connected? So for me, it's really, my success is the quality of the relationships that I have. And it's not even an inner or an outer circle for me. It's just one on one in that very now moment. How are we relating together? And so for us to be able to hop on this call as friends, but at the same point in time, you're producing this, you're putting this together. Can we have a good, authentic, genuine conversation? Do I need to egoically hide shit from you? No, I don't need to do that.
No,
I
I
feel
don't like
good
that.
about being, yeah, honest, transparent, and truthful with you right now. May not be great, may not be my best, but that allows me to get better tomorrow.
But what is your best? Like, the vibe of this is, I just want to have conversations, real conversations with people
Yeah,
that are passionate about the things they do. Like, that to me
yeah.
is why I'm doing this whole thing.
Hmm.
And so for me, I'm like, I don't want to. I'm never trying to be that person that's like, this is how you run a business, because it's not. It doesn't make sense for me. Like, I'm not doing that. That doesn't align with who I am as a person.
Hmm.
And also, there's millions of people that are doing that. To me, I
Yeah.
want to talk about, you have a great platform. You've worked so hard. You've created this career. That's the shit that and I want to talk to the person behind it. It's not like, what's your 5-point plan to, like, because I honestly, like, it just
I don't think
doesn't.
Yeah, nobody's really got it figured out. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people think they do, or they sell that they do. I mean,
Yeah.
I got another hit by financial advisor on LinkedIn today. And I'm like, no, I'm really happy with my financial advising team. It's like, but if I could, show you a secret, it's like, so
A
ethically,
secret.
you're trying to take me away from somebody who I'm already happy with. How would you feel if somebody went after all of your clients that same way? It's like,
Hmm.
ethically, I'm telling you, I'm connected with somebody right now, and you don't need to poke into my business. So, but if they did, and you're doing this on LinkedIn. So, first of all, if you're coming to me with your sales approach on LinkedIn and that's your sales approach, that's not a good experience. Like, that's no. So, yeah, I don't think anybody's got it figured out. I think we're all just trying to do our best, but I think a lot of people have to believe that they've got it all figured out for themselves.
Yeah.
And then they get anchored into that. And that's where anger comes in, because it's not working for them, but they're holding on to that as if it's the only way to do it because that's what everybody told them they need to do. And let me just adjust my glasses. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, you got to figure out your own path. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to do with my clients, is just help them figure out their own path. And so my definition of coaching, Geo, is a vehicle used to move a person of value from where they are to where they want to be.
Hmm.
I'm the vehicle. Literally the stage coach, if you will, or the coach that nobility rides around in. But you are the person of value, the coachee, and I'm here to move you from where you are to where you want to be.
Hmm.
But as a really good coach, I'm not a consultant. I'm not an advisor. I'm just here to draw it out and hold space for you to figure out what's the most important thing for you to do next, and how will you make that happen. And then it's somebody you're going to be connected with a week or 2 weeks later. I'm going to ask you how it went. And if you didn't do it, there's a little bit of accountability there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Listen, you have been a part of me getting to the point that I'm at now in my career 100%, because I mean, I've known you for 3 years now. I think we met in
Mm-hmm.
22.
Yeah, maybe.
It
I'm
was right
bad with
before the
math and
book.
dates.
It was right before
Yeah.
the
Okay.
book
So,
came out.
so the book came out when I was 59, and I was born in 63. So do the math. I don't know.
Girl, I'm a designer. I don't
63
do
plus
math.
50. Exactly. You make things pretty. And yeah, so clearly we're not great with numbers and finance. That's why I'm not a banker anymore. But
It's
yeah,
2022, I think. I'm pretty sure,
yeah,
yeah.
there we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
But
that's about when.
and so like having worked with you, like I've worked on your brand, on your web, everything, whatever. But that's not the point. But
Mm,
because I am helping you expand your brand, I've obviously
mm,
absorbed a lot of the content through your
yeah.
book, which by the way, we have not mentioned the title yet, and I want you to say it. So if people want to go check it out, I want to make sure you can plug it.
Thanks so much, man. Electric Life: 12 Micro Steps to Pay Attention, Be Brilliant, and Go Deep. So
Hmm.
that's the book. Check it out. Available on Indigo. We're
I'll
promoting Canada right now today. Available on Indigo. And Gio will put something in somewhere so you can
the
find
show
it easily.
notes.
But we'll support the Canadians. Yeah.
Yes, I will do that when this goes live. Through all of the, reading your book,
Mhm,
understanding your brand, your platform, etc. Like I've gotten a lot of information from you and a lot of wisdom.
mhm,
And one of the things that really, like, out of the micro steps, you have the 12 micro
mhm.
steps in your book. The one that has stuck with me the most is fine is not a feeling,
Oh, I love it.
because and you've called me out on it, where like we've hopped on calls and you're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm fine. And you're like, really, are you? Like,
Mhm,
after
mhm.
everything that you've helped me put together, you're gonna say that? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I was feeling so like whatever about
Mm,
just the direction I was going in, and like not I wasn't
mhm,
really, I was just like the rat race of like, I'm just trying to get work in versus like, what
mhm,
are you doing, or what's the approach? Are you connected to what you're doing and the people you're working with? And
mhm.
it just basically is like, girl, no, that's not the case. And so let me
Yeah.
shift some shit around. And
Mhm,
that has really sunk it in my head to like, okay, you don't just
mm.
feel fine about what you're doing. And
Right.
it brought about this thing that I was like, and I say this all in every episode at this point, but it's like, I have been thinking about this for so long. And I'm like,
I
just
remember.
do it. Just, and who knows? And if it's like, if it's like right here, I'm like, just get it out. And then since I've been
Mhm.
doing it, I've been like, so I've really been loving the process, and I'm so happy that I can, everybody who says yes, I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy, someone said yes, like, to this little thing. Like, it's been great. And honestly, like, you are a part of that, because I'm like, okay, I
Mhm,
can't just feel whatever about my life. I need to actually
mhm,
like push a little bit,
mhm. Well, and so if I can, shamelessly plug a little bit, that this
yeah.
came to me when I left my high school sweetheart. So we were married for 7 years, And from the time I was 20, I got married at the age of 20. She was 19, and the marriage
Girl.
ended at 27 years old.
Wow.
And I started to take advantage of an employee assistance program that my employer had. And so I went to therapy, and the therapist asked me, how are you? And I'm just like, I'm fine. She says, no, Bill, really, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm fine. She's like, no, Bill, how are you? Fine is not a feeling. And that's where people shared with me, the acronym of FINE, which given the name of the program, I can actually say it. It stands for fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Mm.
But the emotion that I was actually feeling at that
That's too
time, Gio,
real. That's too real. It's hitting hard.
welcome to your life.
Yeah.
But what I realized was I was actually numb. I was
Right.
numb because I cared more about what everybody else thought of me. Here's this little gay boy from Red Rock, Ontario, born in Fort William, that had been told all the right things to do, which was a boy will marry a girl and they will have children and they will go, like, all that whole story that we're fed all
Hmm.
along. And when I realized, and I remember with the therapist, I actually said to her, like, well, I've got a failed marriage. And she's like, why would you call it failed? So another one of the micro steps is celebrate miss-takes.
Yes.
That was my first take at a marriage. And my next take at a long-term relationship was with a man. And so let's try something different.
Hmm.
But the thing is that, and what I'd invite people to do is to literally just Google emotion wheel. And so often we don't even know, we can't even be honest with ourselves about how do I feel right now. And so we do say fine, and it is not an emotion. Fine is not an emotion. So go to the emotion wheel, start in the center, figure out what you're feeling, extend it from there and extend it from there, and you can really get some good self-awareness about what's going on in your own life. But yeah, fine is not a feeling, and until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same, Gio, we're not going to change. You're just going to keep doing the same shit over and over again. And now, again, we got Einstein, right? Definition of insanity. So
Hmm.
deal with it, do the work,
Girl, there have been so many
work it.
times. Yeah. Like the legit. There have been so many times in my life where it's almost like when you're at the precipice of evolving into a new stage of your life, and
Mm,
or a new version or a new chapter, whatever. Where I'm like, and I always know that that's the time for me to start shifting gears a little bit, is when I'm like sick of my own shit. Where I'm
mm,
like, why am I like, remember, okay, so I'm gonna have a vulnerable moment. But do you remember when I talked to you, I think it was almost 2 years ago, but when I was like, I'm trying to quit smoking,
hmm.
and I was like, I want to quit, like, because I'm addicted to nicotine. It's like a problem.
Yeah.
And it was like a 2.5 year struggle. Like, it was off and on, like I couldn't quit. And finally I can say, like, in my mind, like, it's not just, oh, I'm saying this, and then where I'm like, I'm not, I think I was just sick. I'm like, I'm sick of it. I'm actually disgusted with myself. And this is
Mm,
no, listen, if you smoke, I don't care. Do you?
yeah.
For me, also, I think it was, I made a bet with my sister because we were both kind of like, we need to stop. And so we're like, we shook hands. We're like, hey, now there's money involved. We're like, if you go back. But I actually, there was something that shifted in my mind where I was like, I think I'm done. I went on vacation recently, as you know, like I went
Yeah.
away, and like I was around people with vapes, people with cigarettes, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I actually don't want to do it. And to
Mm,
me, and I know that's like a very minuscule thing, but it isn't, right? Where you're like,
yeah.
I'm sick of the fact that I can't even just mentally stop something. Like and
Mm.
so I feel like those moments where, and then I feel like, okay, I can actually make changes in my life and shift
Yeah.
towards a better version of myself.
So you're peeling back the layers of my onion here, because you're going back, and I'm the type of person that will drop quotes and I'll drop lines and give credit to other people. But um, when you're looking at that, as far as the addiction, if you will, goes, it's a really interesting sort of experience that happens with people. And so the quote that I want to drop to you here right now is, to know and not to do is really not to know. Knowledge and wisdom are two very, very different things. So you knew that smoking was killing you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
was the number one cause of lung cancer, right? Smoking leads to death. You
Mm-hmm.
know that, but you don't have that wisdom because you're still smoking.
Yeah.
It's when you actually apply the knowledge and you quit. And again, like you said, no judgment. If that's what people need to
Yeah.
do, that maybe is
Please.
better for them than taking a drink or doing some other drug or whatever it is that they may have other addictions too. But the point is, when we know better, we do better. And so, yeah, boy, oh boy, do I ever have a loop track on that.
And I'm only saying that, listen, I only say, I hate that we live in a world where everything has to be like disclaimers because everyone will
Oh,
take a line and then whatever.
yep,
But I only speak for me. I'm
yeah,
not speaking for other people. You do you, boo. Like,
yeah,
listen, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Like, I'm never going to
yeah.
judge somebody. It's for me.
Well, and I challenge you there, Gio. I don't know about you, but as a privileged gay white man, I judge fucking everybody. It's like you are being judged right now. The difference,
For
though,
sure.
is whether we're judgmental. And that's where I want us to do better.
Yeah.
So whether you like my shirt or don't like my shirt today, that's a judgment. It's just a simple black cheap shirt. It's no big deal. But if you call it, oh, that's a really nice shirt, or oh, you're wearing that ugly shirt again, that's the judgmental parts. But our brain, we are hardwired. We're going to judge. So let's stop pretending like we don't judge. Yes, I judge you, but I'm not going to be judgmental about you. And in the work that I've done with my life coaching, I've gone from a dichotomy of fear to the far end. The opposite of fear for me is love. And the highest form of love is acceptance. Can I accept Gio for who he is right now? Now, if
Mhm.
Gio wants to get better at being Gio, come talk to me. I'll ask you a few questions. We'll figure out a few things. You're going to make
Mhm.
some commitments. You're going to make some plans. You're going to be better. But I'm not judging where you came from, and nor am I judging where you want to go to. I'm
Right.
just here to help you get there. And once you get there and you look around and you go, oh, this is shitty. Okay, let's go someplace else. It's
Yeah.
like,
That was a mistake.
yeah, oopsie. I thought I wanted to go there. I don't actually want to go there.
This kind of conversation, like your general message to me, like on a one-on-one, is very palatable. But so what I want to know is, you work with a lot of corporate clients and you work with a lot
Mhm.
of people in corporate settings. How do they absorb this, or like, what's, you know what I mean? Because like, I can only
Yeah.
imagine what it's like dealing with like a boardroom of corporate people,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
talking to them about love and acceptance and all these things that we've been talking
Mhm.
about. Like, how is that experience?
It's evolved a lot, a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I'll be transparent with you as well. Of course, my style adapts to my audience because, again, I've got to think about what's my goal.
Mm,
And yet again, I'm a vehicle used to move a person of value, that boardroom, those individuals in that boardroom, from where they are to where they want to get to. So I'm really focused on your journey, but I'm also focused on getting you to move from where you are, which, hey, the biggest problem we have, I'm trying to remember which great Greek philosopher was, but it was the enemy of the great is the good. And when you're good, and that's what it's gotten you to where you are, and you're good. And so, how am I going to get you to be courageous, not vulnerable? That's something else I would challenge you on. You said you're going to be vulnerable. No, you were courageous. You exposed some of yourself to all of us here in your audience. But how do we move you from where you are? And so, to part of that, I have to, without compromising who I am,
yeah, of
I will
course.
adapt my behavior so that it works with them. So yeah, when here today with you, I'm in just a black shirt and away I go. You see me hosting the Art of Leadership Women or the Art of Leadership. I'm in a who was it? Our friend Ryan at um, catchphrase for us. What did he call it? Corporate zhuzh.
Oh yeah.
I think is what he called it. It was corporate zhuzh. And so there I am in my three-piece suit with my pocket square and my necktie and a little bit of jewelry. And so that's how I come out to them, because I want to create a psychologically safe space for these people to open up to me
Hmm.
and talk to me about really what the problem is. And once we can really identify the true problem, now we can figure out a strategy to solve that problem. And human beings are hardwired to solve other people's problems. So let's create that space for them, though. But they have to be willing to move. I can push you, but as soon as I come step away, you're going to go back to where you were.
And they must have some willingness because they're hiring you for a reason, right? Like, it's not like you're just coming in.
Uh,
Well, no.
yeah, not always. And even when they hire me, so I had the honor of working with the school board here, and it was in the Ontario. I'll just leave it at that. It was an
You're in
Ontario school
Toronto.
board. Home is for me is Toronto, but this
Mhm.
was a school board that was outside of Toronto, and I sat down. There was a challenge that they were having in and around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so they asked me to go and work with them. And we watched some videos together and we saw some really cool things and we talked about it. But one of the points I said to them was, sitting in this room right now and looking around the room, do you represent your customer base? Do you represent your constituents? Like,
Mhm.
does this room look like your community? And they're like, they got real quiet. And I said, whether it does or doesn't today, what about 5 years from now? And what about 10 years from now? And so I really challenge you to represent and, hire the people that look like the community that you want to serve and service, because that's your job. And yeah, I won't get into the demographics of that room, but Geo, there's no way in hell they represented their community.
Right.
A whole lot of, bald old white guys like me.
Hmm.
So, got to fix it.
I do like though that as somebody who is preaching the message, not preaching, sorry, I take that back.
Yeah.
Who is saying, who has the platform that you have, like, do you
Hmm.
get any pushback based on just who you are? Like,
Oh
you are
gosh,
a white
yes.
person, and like, what is that like?
Yeah.
Because like, I feel like if to me, I'm like, people are so quick to just see you and say, oh,
Hmm.
look at this like white person saying this, and I'm
Yeah.
like, listen to what he's saying. Like, you're defeating the purpose. Like, you're doing exactly what you
Mhm.
don't want done to you. You know.
Yeah. Well, you nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And it's I have hosted I don't even know how many Art of Leadership women events.
Mm,
And
yeah.
granted, I've got I'm a very privileged white man, but I am a gay white man.
Hmm.
And so, but that doesn't necessarily show, like, even if I'm wearing a pride, or a progress pin, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm gay. It just means I'm an
An
ally, if you will, or
ally.
trying to be an ally for that community. And so on that stage, I come out every time. And so, there I am in front of 3,000 people, the grand majority women. There may be 5% men that are in the room, which is good, because I believe we need men to step back. And the only way they can step back is when they see these brilliant women that are there to do the job without question. But the point is, I come out and I let them know, hey, I'm a privileged gay white man, and I will not call myself an ally, because I believe that that is something that needs to be appointed to me by the community that I'm supposedly an ally for.
Hmm.
But I am an accomplice, and I
I
am a
love it.
coach, and I am a champion, and I am a mentor, and I'm a sponsor, and I'm a supporter. And so all of those things are going on. And luckily for me, somehow by the end of the day, the majority I have won over. But there are still a number of times on the evaluations where they say, you know what, this was really great, and Bill's a really good facilitator. He's a good host. However, this event needs to have a woman hosting it.
Hmm.
And I am the strongest in agreement of that statement. And the day when I host my last Art of Leadership Women will be a very sad day for me, because I
Yeah.
love those days are just out of control. You've been to one of those. You
Yeah.
came, you met Lisa LaFlamme. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were at one of those events. And, so it'll be a very sad day for me, but Geo, it's coming sooner than I want it to,
Yeah.
because anytime will be too soon. But it's time for me to move on from that. I believe that as privileged white men, we need to speak up. And what I mean by that is when, Benita's just made this great suggestion of something we need to do. And we go, no, 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 that won't work. And then 10 minutes later, Joe comes along and makes the same suggestion. We go, yeah, Joe, that's cool. Let's do what Joe said.
Right.
I'm the one that's going to say, whoa, hold on, Joe, pause. Benita just made that suggestion 10 minutes ago. Let's go back to her and let's find out what she really thinks about that. So we
Mm.
need to speak up, and we also need to step down. And, if we've been asked to be on a focus group or a task force or lead this, whatever, it's maybe time for us to say, you know what, I would love to. Thank you for the compliment, but who else can we bring up and give them a chance to do this?
Yeah.
I'll support them, I'll coach them, I'll mentor them, but I don't need to be the one to do it anymore. So I don't know if that answered your question about the pushback around the tables or not, but yeah, it's life.
I mean, yeah, and we're in a I think it's like a recalibration. That's where we're at in
Yeah.
society, where we're recalibrating, which I'm all about. Listen, I vibe with you in the same way. I'm like, to me, I find women much more interesting. To like in general. I was raised by women. Like, that is the core of who Geo is as a man today, is
Mm-hmm.
because of women. And so
Yeah.
whether it was friendships, and like as a gay person, like, we don't need to get into it, but I heard from my sister who did my first episode. Um, and she had somebody who, I think it was our cousin actually, and was like, oh, the first two episodes like were great because, is he always going to have women on? Like, I love that the first
Yeah.
few were women, like, and the majority of my guests are actually women. Like, I think you're maybe the
Awesome.
third or fourth man, and I'm not bashing anything. Like, I'm just
No.
saying, like, I just
Mm-hmm.
find, I'd much rather talk to a woman. For like, having done this now, you've been at 9 years, 10 years.
Yeah, probably about that.
Like,
Oh,
I was able to experience it a couple years ago
yeah.
because of you,
Mm-hmm.
which, once again, thank
Mm-hmm.
you. That was a great day. It was 2 days
Oh,
actually. How did you get involved in that?
Keep it to the top notes here, if you will. But I was the head of organization development for a major corporation, and one of my vendors would sell this event called The Power Within, and they left that event and started their own company called The Art of, with three other people, or no, two other people. At any rate, over time, they had tried to launch a corporate learning division within The Art of, and they hadn't been able to get traction or have it take off. And so they just met with me and asked if I'd be interested. And I said, yeah, I would love to create a corporate learning division for them. And I shared my vision of what that would be. And we got started and things went really well. And then they wrote a book with the host of the event. And the host of the event was going to do a keynote on that book. And they realized, hold on a second, we kind of shouldn't really be asking you to host the day. And then how do you introduce yourself? Like, how does that
Yeah.
happen? So they said, Bill, would you be willing to host this one event? And I'm like, oh, that's not why I came on board here, but if that's the job to be done, then I'll do it. And it just clicked and it worked for me and for them. And so now, Geo, I'm literally in my introduction, I'm the host, the MC, and the brand ambassador for the Art of Leadership. And it's an honor to have that. And I get exposed to some incredible thought leaders and all these incredible world leaders as well that I've had the honor of working with, Canadian and global. So it's been a really cool experience. But that's how it literally started. They were just like, "You go out on stage because we're not gonna." And so I started hosting the events, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
Who have you been able to connect with through these talks? Because like when I went, like when you interviewed Lisa LaFlamme, which to me I was like, that is very cool.
Oh man, I was so crushing on her so much. I have had such respect for Lisa LaFlamme. And the day that I saw her, strip out the dye from her hair and
Hmm.
come on with that silver hair, I'm like, you girl, you are beautiful. That is gorgeous. Like, yes, yes, yes. Big time applause.
Hmm.
And so I was just fanning over her big time. So that was an honor. Who else? I've had the opportunity to work with 22nd Prime Minister of Canada. So that was Stephen Harper, was on the stage with them as well, that I interviewed. I had the honor of connecting with Malala. Like, talk about energy. Like, I was so humbled to be in her presence. And she's not a huge, physical person. Like, if you would dwarf this poor woman, but just to be in her presence was like such an incredible honor. I look at the pictures and I can just see how humble I am in my eyes. Vice President Joe, sorry, no, Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden then. Who else? Steve Wozniak was a really cool person, just dropping a bunch of
Cool.
names
That was
here.
recent.
Yeah, yeah, that was in Baku, Azerbaijan. Yeah, that was a
Hmm.
scary experience actually, but it was all good in the end. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau wanted to ask all kinds of questions that I was not allowed to ask, but I would have loved to known.
Mm.
So yeah, I've been really blessed. Haley Wickenheiser, Sean Kanungo. There's so much talent here in Canada, and that has been on that stage. And again, just humbled to be with them. But I just bring a small town Northern Ontario boy's perspective to the questions that I get to ask them.
Has
Yeah.
there been a moment with anyone in particular that really resonates or like sticks in your head of like, oh, this was like a really great moment
Oh,
for
really
you?
great. Oh, Lisa. Yeah, that absolutely. Of all the ones, I still have the magazine cover with her sitting on my side table here. The pictures of her with my family. Like, to be able to bring my family to that as well is like a huge thing for me. So yeah, I was definitely crushing with Lisa big time. Joe Biden was pretty interesting as well because he hadn't run for the U.S. President yet.
Hmm.
And at one point in the conversation, he stood up and actually gave almost his inaugural address if he had won. And it was like, dude, he was like 25 minutes long, running long on time. And my job is to finish on time. But luckily for me, a woman in the second row stood up and walked out. And that was his cue that he was going on too long. And so he was like, I'm following her. And I'm like, thank you, Vice President Biden. Yeah. So,
We love someone who's self-aware.
yeah, exactly. Hello. Should have been self aware 25 minutes ago, but that's okay.
The reach that you have is very
Mm,
impressive. I think that through, your keynotes, through your corporate work, through your online
mm,
coaching, like all the things that you do, you're really putting it out there in a way that is, as somebody who's in the early stages of, and not that I have any goals to do what you do, like that's not my whole my point, but I think that you having achieved what you've done is very impressive. And to somebody who's like in the early stages, I can see the blueprint of how
mm.
you've approached what it is that you do. And I can pick parts of it and say, okay, there's these things that I want to bring into my my path, my trajectory to
Mm.
get me to what my version of what it is that you're doing.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest thing that I pull from that, like we said before, is just the authenticity. I think that
Yeah.
you approach everything in a way that is so even your emails, and like when you respond to me, sometimes you're like, oh, like I'm being me, like, or I'm just this is my way of answering the question. And I'm like, yeah, I know, you don't have to give me a disclaimer. Like, I know who you are. It's fine. And that's something that I genuinely appreciate from you as a person.
Mm. Well, I thank you for that. And we probably are closer to each other than you actually realize, because what you do is really peel back everything to get to the core of whoever you're representing. And then graphically, as this creative that you are, make us look good. And that's the thing that I've learned from you, if nothing else, is your eye and your talent is absolutely incredible. How many projects have we had together? And I was like, could you tweak this last little bit? And you do. And I go back, yeah, no, sorry, you're right. Because that last week was not what was needed, but you knew exactly what I needed. And that's what I love about what you do, is you just really discover through your questioning, through your probing, and through what you put forward. You just really represented me so well. And I'm so honored to be able to let everybody know that all my stuff is by Geographics. Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it, because to me, at the end of the day, like we said, like, I'm all about, in this new phase of my life. I've been about this before, but more so now, I'm really trying to like live it. Is I want to feel connected, and whether it's
Mm.
clients, friends or clients who become friends like you, where I'm actually understanding them, I know who they are. It allows me to do better work.
Yeah.
Like like you said, I'm in your work and in my work, we're the conduits, like, so in so many words, to help that person.
Two things there, Geo. That when you're doing the geographics work and when you're doing this work here today, it's those moments where a fellow MC and host, David Kelly, said, it's really when you can get those shoulders down moments.
Hmm.
That when I'm interviewing somebody on stage, sometimes they're nervous or they're afraid. What question are they going to ask me? But when I get them to put their shoulders down, I remember when I first met Lisa, she's like, "You're not going to ask me the question, right?" I'm like, "Lisa, I've been in human resources for over 3 decades. I know you've signed a non disclosure agreement to whatever your settlement was. And I know you cannot tell us what the reason was that you were let go. I will not." She's, "Well, and I've been on other interviews where they keep going." I'm like, "Lisa, my job is to make sure that all the lights are shining brightly on you so that you can deliver your best message."
Hmm.
And it's the same thing with you. You get us into the shoulders down moment where we can truly become raw and naked in front of you, so you can figure out what is the brand, or what is the story, what is the question that really needs to come across to your listeners. And
Hmm.
so you create that space, you hold that space for us. And I think that's where you and I are really connected in what we do, although they're very different things.
Yeah, of course. But to me,
Yeah.
I can't suffer fools. I don't want to have this, like, the veneer. You know what I mean? Like, none of that matters to me. I see, listen, in my field, like, I see so many YouTubers and people online who are
Mm.
like, this is how you need to do branding, and this is the rules, and these are and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I approach it the way that I want to approach it, and I
Mhm.
have been doing fine. I take that
Yeah, we
back.
use that word a lot, don't we? Yeah,
It's just
yeah. You're doing
automatic.
great.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm happy with the direction that I'm going in. And to me, the biggest thing is I need to feel connection with the people that I work
Mm.
with, the people in my life, in all ways, shape, or form. Because otherwise, what the is the point? What are we
Mhm.
doing? I'm not going to present the same way that I would be, like, with my friends on my couch talking
Yeah.
shit, but
Mhm.
in the way that it's
Mm.
like 95% I'm presenting who I am, and you too, right?
It's about being aware of our environments and what's appropriate and in that environment, and whether or not we want to show up in that environment or not. So I want to make a difference. I do want to make
Mhm.
a difference. And if I can, again, get that shoulders down so people feel comfortable, I'm good to go.
Yeah,
Good to go.
100%.
Wow.
So at the end of every episode, I have been asking my guests a recurring question, and
Okay.
this can go either personally, professionally, just anything about your existence as Bill. What would you
Mhm.
say is the most on brand thing that you've ever done?
Ooh. My whole life I've lived in fear.
Mm.
And that's what it was. I was living in fear, and I had the opportunity to work with some coaches, and I had this horrendous nightmare that I'd never had before. And it was bloody and ugly and the whole bit. And I woke up that night and sent a message to my coach at that point in time. And they just said, write down everything you're afraid of. And so I did. And we had a ceremony where we burned every one of those fears. But the thing that came from that is now I really live with almost zero fear in my life. I'm sure there's still things that I'm afraid of, but I mean, like I now on Sunday, I'm going with a friend and his nephew to Canada's Wonderland on Media Day, and I'm going to ride Leviathan. I'm going to ride Behemoth. I'm going to ride the Vortex. Petrified of those. I've swam with shark. I have jumped off of cliffs. I did zip lining in Dominican Republic. And then it was zip and dip. I thought, oh, good, we're gonna do water slides. No, we were cliff diving off of freaking rocks. I'm like, so really, there's, I've stood in front of thousands of people without any notes, without anything, and I've been told I have to stretch and fill. And so I can't think of anything left that I'm afraid of. So what is the most on-brand thing that I'm doing now is something that was off-brand for so many years. Is that, you know what, if it's going to be what the fuck, it's like fuck the fear and just get out there and just do it. And I will do my best. And that's what's on brand for me.
I love it. Honestly, that's great. A lot of people usually like in the last since the beginning that there's been struggles of like, I don't know what to say. You came up with that pretty quick.
Okay, good. Less editing necessary. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. For future me is thanking you. Thank you. Honestly, I just appreciate you so much for taking the time to say, I know you like you talk to really important people. So for you to take time out of your
Yeah,
schedule to
you.
talk to me, no, but like, I mean it. Like, I don't know. I really appreciate you doing this.
So there's my perfect closing then, Gio, just to bring it to a close. I really want people, one of the micro steps is to treat people as SVI. And for me, that stands for special, valued, and important. Special means that we see the uniqueness of each and every individual that we come in contact with. What is it that's unique about Gio, and how do I connect with Gio? Number two is valued. And by that, I mean appreciated. So let me articulate what I appreciate about you. And I appreciate your talent and your attention to detail and how you always make me look good. And important simply means seen and heard. So you are important to me. I see you and I hear you, and I know the good that you want to do as well. Dude, I'm here to support you in every way, shape, or form that I can. Your success is my success. Your successes aren't my successes, but that's the only success I can have is by helping you get to where you want to be and how you define success. So, Gio, thank you. Graphic content. We'll
Thank
see.
you. I appreciate that so much. So, if anybody was looking to connect with you, buy your book you, how can they find you online?
Two spots, billgwilliams.com and or bill at b4group.com. They can go to b4group.com. I'm sure it's going to show up in the comments somewhere down there or in graphics somewhere, but that's it. And by the way, if you need a great website created by GeoGraphics, he created both of those. So look at them as opportunities for what he might be able to do for you because he makes me look damn good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
My pleasure.
And to anybody who's looking to contact me, you can reach out to me through geographic.com to talk all things design or branding. Follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram under Graphic Content Pod. I would love if you could leave a review. That would be amazing, or a comment just to like get the algorithm going. I'm slowly getting traction, and I'm at that point now where I would love it to bump up a little bit. So any online support is appreciated. And Bill, once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today, and goodbye.
Bye, y'all.